Greetings and salutations. Second Star Right, back with some more Raid Shadow Legends. And I know what you're thinking. I can see it. I see it in your face. You're looking at my screen and you're saying, I don't want to talk about the Undead Hordes summoning event. That was Monday's news, and it is not Monday. And I agree. I don't want to talk about it either. I do kind of want to talk adjacent to it, though, which I think is fair. This is obviously a push for Plarium to get people more engaged in faction wars, and this is their way of pushing a faction that is probably underrepresented, right? They're not like the High Elves or the Dark Elves, where there's a good amount of champions with a good distribution of abilities. There's a lot of factions that, just frankly, they have issues. So what I was trying to explore last week or 2 weeks ago, I was looking through the Banner Lords, and I wrote down all the abilities, all the champions, and what was missing. And I saw that there was a distinct lack of certain things. And because there's a lot of buffs and debuffs, you're going to see that. But important ones, like with Banner Lords, it was defense down. And I wanted to see if that was a problem that kind of manifested itself across other factions as well. So I thought I'd skip, rather than going to whatever the next faction was after Banner Lords, I'd skip and do Undead Hordes. Okay, so here is what I found. If you'll bear with me for a second, I have to do some technology. Stop, let go of that. Go down, scroll. You move. Okay, so what we have here is a ability grid that I made for Undead Hordes. Let me switch over that screen. Okay, so as we can see, I wrote down all of the buffs, all the debuffs, all the abilities, all the champions, and I ordered them from rare to epic to legendary to uncommon to common, because I kind of figured that's the way people would use them. I mean, odds are you're not gonna level up an uncommon or a common just for faction wars. What you want to do is kind of use what you're already going to use, and then maybe repurpose stuff that you would be using anyway for faction wars, and maybe vice versa if it's a good enough champion. So that's what I was doing. So if you remember in the Chevalier video, I think I showed you the Banner Lords version of this, where there was no one with defense down abilities. Well, we have a similar problem here in Undead Hordes, where outside of Seducer, there are no rares or epics that have an attack down. An attack down is a very important debuff, right? I mean, you definitely need that on most boss fights. So there's a bit of an issue. It kind of forces you to use Seducer, which is fine, because Seducer is actually really great. But it's just an example of this not being balanced for this game mode. And they added in new champions. Like, they added in Crypt King Grawl a few months back, so that was another attack down. But he's a legendary, and if you're one of the 1% or so that have him, then that's great. You don't have to use Seducer, I guess. But for everyone else, you better hope you have a Seducer, or you're just gonna have to go without an attack down. Now, even though that's like a tragic lack of ability, there's also another one. Let me see if I can track over to the buff section. Google Sheets is not the most intuitive of interface, but let's see here. Work with me. Okay, I'm gonna have to drag. Okay, so over on the buff section, we'll get to healings. I broke it up to spot heals, continuous heals for self, spot heals for allies, and then continuous heals for allies. And there's not a whole lot to choose from. There's an okay amount of spot self-healing, but there's no self-healing, continued self-healing at all. And there's only a few ally heals. That's not very conducive for adventuring around in dungeons. There's not a lot of healing. Conversely, I guess you could say, oh well, there's plenty of people with. Oh, there isn't even plenty of people with leech. You can just use leech as a stand-in. I guess there's a couple, but it's just a mistake. I don't know if it's like a mistake, but it really limits your flexibility when you have so few things to use for heals. I mean, you can of course put everyone in lifesteal gear, but in a game like this, it costs a lot to re-gear people. So I don't know. It's just something to look out for in this faction, is that attack downs and then lack of heals. That's not a very good combination. Now they do countermand that a little bit by, even though there's not a lot of attack down, there is a lot of defense up. So I guess you can go the opposite direction, where instead of debuffing the boss, you can buff yourself. There are a couple people, champions that do that rather effectively. But just by browsing around, you see that there's a lot of holes. There's no counterattacks at all. Neither group nor individual counterattacks. There's no block damage. The only ally protect is Seducer and Temptress with a partner skill. That's it. And Temptress isn't great as far as what she brings to a team. It's okay, but I'm not sure that just ally protect would be good enough to sacrifice a different champion. They're okay with reses. They got Grinner and they got Glogorab. But there's some nice extra turn stuff. It's not all bad. I'm not going to say that. There's just, you have to really plan out a team composition if you really want to progress using the Undead Hordes. Okay, and also there's a good amount of speed manipulation for them too. There's speed downs and speed ups for allies. A lot of people choose from to do that. Look at that. So I guess when you're thinking about the Undead Hordes, you're thinking speed manipulation, and that's almost it. They don't do a lot. And defense down. A lot of people defense down. A lot of people manipulate speed. It's just and accuracy down is well represented too. So it's interesting. So what are they trying to address? Holes, like has it gotten better? I guess if we were to think back, and kinda. So like poison, for instance, it used to be they didn't have very many poisoners at all. If you kind of cast your mind back to where we used to be, Hollow has been here for a while, but he only had a 10% chance on his A1, and it was only the 2.5% version of poison. So they have added in champions since then. Now let's see what we got here. We have Karam, who was added recently. He has 30% for 5% on his A1. Then he has a special ability where he kind of detonates the poisons that are on the boss or your opponent. So I haven't tried it, so I don't know how good it is. But it's something that they did put in recently kind of address that issue. And then here's a good one. This is Corpse Collector. And she has a 3-hit 75% for 5% poison, and that wasn't there before. All the other poisoners were legendaries, so they have been trying. You can see that they've added in some other ones, and they did the same thing with HP burn, like Crypt King Grawl. They added, of course, he's legendary, like I said, but there's an HP burn that wasn't there before, and the Ghoulish Ranger again also added in for HP burn because the only one that we had previous to that was Wretch. Right, and it's fine, 100% to place, and that's not bad. So here we have three chances for 30%. But Ghoulish Ranger hits really hard too, so there's a bonus. Ghoulish Ranger is, I think, undervalued as far as champions go. So they have been trying to address some holes a little bit. They do need more healing. They definitely need another champ that does attack down. Like the next champion that they release for the Undead Hordes should definitely have attack down on his A1 and a group continuous heal or something, or a group spot heal, even anything, just to try to fill that in and make faction wars a little bit easier. So what I did was I made a little infogram, I guess. Now this isn't perfect. This is just as I was going and evaluating abilities, and this is only rares and epics, no legendaries and no commons and uncommons. Like if I had this mixture of champions, and I don't, as you can see, my Seeker is grayed out and my Corpse Collector is grayed out. But if I was to choose some support carries, some wave management, some crowd control, and then DPS for the boss, this is who I would go with personally. And I would really like to hear from you guys if you have like an Undead Hordes faction wars team like all decked out, because I don't. I'd be very interested in seeing what you got, right? So support and carries: Seducer, Golgrab, Zealota, Doomscreech, Mausoleum Mage, and Seeker. These guys have a really good mix of defensive buffs, shields, heals, reses, even some buff removal. And then Mausoleum Mage has like a whole incredible array of arrays. He's, again, I said it a lot, but he's like an angry spirit host. He's pretty cool. And for wave management, of course, Banshee has 2 AoEs, so she's really good with that. And they have some buff removal. Of course, Husk has provokes on his A1, and then a group stun that deals damage to the max enemy hit points. That's pretty darn good. Husk is also a great champion. As far as boss DPS goes, I can't really speak to Corpse Collector. A lot of times, these heroes don't quite act the way you think they would. So I'm a bit hesitant to say, oh, this is a good boss DPS champion for Faction Wars. But on paper, she looks good. Ghoulish Ranger has just boss killing abilities. He has the HP burns and some other stuff that will really help you along, and plus he hits like a truck, and he has a really good high base attack stat. Okay, I will put the share link to this in the comments to the video, so if you want to check it out, you can maybe download it. You can check your own inventory and your own vault, maybe highlight the things you have and check the grid for abilities that you think would work for yourself. That'd be awesome. If this is a help to you, that'd be great. And I passed the 100 subscriber threshold, so I'm 1% of the way there. That's awesome. I thank you guys so much. It's all completely organically grown. It's fantastic. I am really pleased that you guys are enjoying watching some of the content I put out. That's really cool. So feel free to like. I really appreciate it. Leave your comments on what you think. Maybe if there's a faction you want me to jump to and do this on, leave that in the comments. And please subscribe, hit notifications. Anything that you want to do would help me out so much. And you know what? Let me go back to my OBS real quick, and let's move this back to the bottom. Order at the bottom. Hey, look, I'm back. So thank you again so much. I appreciate it. And let me know what you want to see next, and I will see you in the next video. Good night, guys. Take care.